Scorpio Sky, Christopher Daniels, Frankie Zay, collectively known as SoCal Uncensored or
SCU! This is Catch, Hook, and Shoot, the worst podcast I've ever been on. Word.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Catch, Hook, and Shoot. Today is Sunday, January the 26th. It is Royal Rumble Day. I'll get into that in just a few minutes here, but first of all, I want to thank everybody for listening, watching, and subscribing on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, anywhere you find your podcasts, as well as on YouTube, on all social media. I hope everybody's following at Catch, Hook, Shoot. Head over to patreon.com/catchhookshoot for bonus content and prowrestlingtees.com/catchhookshoot for all your t-shirt needs. And if you ever want to shoot me an email, it's catchhookshoot@gmail.com. So let's get right into everything going on in the world of pro wrestling this week, starting off as we always do with our match of the week. This week's match of the week comes from the WWE Worlds Collide event that took place just last night, and I'm talking about the main event of that show, the Undisputed Era versus Imperium in an 8-man tag team match. This was a fantastic match from start to finish, probably the two hottest factions in WWE today on any brand. And, on the Imperium side, Alexander Wolf got injured early on in the match. He did put out a tweet that he's okay, but so it ended up being a 4-on-3, and Imperium still ended up coming out the winners in this one. I highly recommend you check it out. Like I said, these are the two hottest factions in WWE right now, and some of the best in-ring performers that you're going to see on any WWE brand. So, Undisputed Era versus Imperium at the Worlds Collide pay-per-view from last night is this week's match of the week. Go out of your way to check this one out. If you do not watch any other wrestling this week, watch this match. Trust me. So we're going to keep rolling right along here into the next segment of the show, which is one of the newer segments that just started up at the beginning of this year, and this is the 3 Count. So first up in the 3 Count this week is an interesting little tidbit coming out of the Jericho Cruise from this past week, where, of course, all the AEW stars were. They recorded this week's episode of Dynamite from there. And, like I said, an interesting note is that there's a rumor going around that next year on the Jericho Cruise, which is, tentatively titled Triple Whammy, that AEW is going to be introducing trios titles or 6-man tag team titles, whatever you want to call it. I'm a fan of this. I mean, AEW has made it a point to make tag team wrestling important. It's not just an afterthought. It is a major part of the company. And with the Young Bucks being executive vice presidents of the company, I mean, that's to be expected, and that's a very good thing. I mean, you name me one other major company out there that puts such an emphasis on tag team wrestling. And I am a tag team wrestling fan. Back in the day, I loved the British Bulldogs, the Hart Foundation, the Rockers, all the great tag teams from like the 80s and 90s. And then it just kind of fell off, at least on, the WWE side. You had a lot of these cut and paste tag teams for quite a long time. And you still see those a lot. There's very few established full-time tag teams out there, and so that is one thing that AEW is doing very differently and doing it well, is focusing on their tag team division and building it up. And I think introducing trios titles, you've got groups out there like the Jurassic Express, the Dark Order has multiple members and things like that. So you've got, there is definitely enough talent to accommodate a 6-man tag team title. So I'm a huge fan of that. I hope that this rumor is true, because that's definitely a tournament that I'd like to see, or however they decide who the first champions are going to be. Moving on to the second part of the 3 Count, seems like NXT and NXT UK are no longer referring to their women's champions as women's champions. I noticed it this week on NXT, and then there was not an official announcement made, but it was in a online and a lot of the dirt sheets and stuff like that, that the NXT Women's Champion and the NXT UK Women's Champion are no longer going to be referred to. They're no longer going to have gender-specific titles, basically. Like, Rhea Ripley, instead of being the NXT Women's Champion, she's just referred to as the NXT Champion, the same way that that Adam Cole is. Or Kaylee Ray in NXT UK is no longer the NXT UK Women's Champion. She's just the NXT UK Champion, same as Walter. I like it. Some people were bitching and moaning about it online. It is what it is. I mean, I think it puts, a little more, not emphasis, but I think it does more to put the women on the same level as the men and show them, that they are equal to the men. So, not having the gender-specific title is, I mean, to me, it's a good thing. It doesn't hurt anybody. I don't know why so many people were complaining about it, saying it's stupid and this and that. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I don't have an issue with it. Some people do, so whatever. And part 3 of the 3 count this week is the NXT has some redesigned championship belts that they just introduced. First was Walter. Now, of course, his title up until now has been known as the WWE United Kingdom Championship. And just this past week, it was rebranded as the NXT UK Championship. So a little more brand specific to NXT UK, which I think is a good thing. And by the same token, the Cruiserweight Championship, which is now exclusive to NXT, has been renamed the NXT Cruiserweight Championship with a new belt with the NXT logo in the center instead of the WWE logo. And it's on a black strap now, which I think is really cool. I was never a fan of the purple strap, but with the black strap, it is a nice looking belt. The color really does make a difference on this one. So that is the 3 count for this week. Moving into our next topic here, some AEW news. We've got new AEW World Tag Team Champions in Kenny Omega and Hangman Page defeated SCU on the Jericho Cruise for the AEW World Tag Team titles, and still some dissension showing there between Hangman and the rest of his former Elite brethren. Of course, Hangman has made it well known he's taking a hiatus from the Elite, so I think this is definitely going somewhere. I think AEW is doing a good job with the long-term booking and long-term storytelling. They're not just jumping right to the payoff, which is good. I mean, that's old school booking where stuff actually takes time to play out, and you have to, pay attention and watch week after week to see what's going to happen next. It's not just, 2 guys have beef one week and 2 weeks later at the pay-per-view you get the blow-off match or whatever. So I like where this is going. I'm interested to see how it's all going to play out with Hangman and the Elite. Also in AEW, we saw Moxley defeat Pac for the #1 contendership for the AEW World title. Now, I would assume that match between Moxley and Jericho would take place at the next pay-per-view, Revolution, coming up in February here in Chicago. So, I expect a great match. I mean, both of these guys are, absolutely phenomenal in the ring. And, that's going to be a great championship match. Moving into some Impact news, Brian Cage has been talked about a lot lately. There was an announcement out there that he had signed with AEW, which he kind of shot down. So did his wife, Melissa Santos. And he did put a video out on social media this week saying that, yes, his Impact contract is up, but that he has not signed anywhere, but he's had a lot of offers and, things like that from a number of different companies. I'm sure, he wasn't specific which companies, but I'm sure Impact made him an offer to stay. I'm sure he's gotten offers from WWE and AEW and Ring of Honor and anybody else out there, and probably New Japan and stuff like that. Unfortunately, he made the announcement that he does have a torn bicep that's going to require surgery, which he's going to be having surgery tomorrow on Monday. And that could keep him out for up to 6 months. Now, we are talking about Brian Cage, so I'm sure, with the condition that he's in, he'll be able to, shorten that time, significantly, as long as there's no major complications with the surgery or the recovery. But, just the timing of it is just horrible for him. I mean, he was in a position where he could have probably commanded a very, very high price from whoever he signed for. And, to have this happen, just very, very unfortunate. Also leaves some questions for Warrior Wrestling 8 coming up next month. Now, Cage, of course, is the Warrior Wrestling Champion. He's got a huge title defense at Warrior 8. I would assume he's probably not going to be able to make that defense, so we're probably going to see a new Warrior Wrestling Champion. Now, next week, I'm going to go through the entire Warrior 8 card. The show's taking place on February the 15th, I believe it is, and I've already put up the links for the live broadcast. I will be doing live play-by-play again, myself and Charlie G, who does the indie cut here on the show. And so yeah, head to podbean.com and get in early. Reserve your spot, and yeah, it should be a great show. Like I said, next week I'm going to break down the entire card, the title matches for both the men's and women's Warrior Wrestling Championship, plus all the other phenomenal talent that's going to be on hand in the matches that they booked. I mean, Warrior Wrestling, in my opinion, is the top independent promotion right now, or at least one of the top ones. I mean, they book some phenomenal talent. If you've never had a chance to check out Warrior Wrestling, definitely give them a look. If you're in Chicago, pick up tickets to the show. Their ticket prices are ridiculous for the amount of for the level of talent that they get. They always have Fan Fest beforehand where you can meet and get autographs and pictures with all of the wrestlers on the card, and it's all one price. You don't pay individually for the autographs and pictures. You pay one price and you get autographs and pictures with every single wrestler that they have. So it's an amazing deal. It's very family friendly. It's in the south suburbs of Chicago. Head to warriorwrestling.net for tickets and information. But yeah, I will be doing live play-by-play audio on the Podbean app with Charlie G. So like I said, head to catchhookshoot.podbean.com to check that out. And moving into some NWA news, NWA had their latest pay-per-view called Hard Times this past Friday, and lots of new champions in the NWA. You got Eli Drake and James Storm are your new tag team champions, defeated the Rock and Roll Express and the Wild Cards in a triple threat match. Ricky Starks is your new World TV Champion, defeated Trevor Murdoch in the finals of the TV title tournament. And Thunder Rosa defeated Allison Kay for the NWA World Women's Championship. It was also announced that the Crockett Cup will be returning in April, so that's Crockett Cup's always really cool. So that's pretty much it for news and rumors for this week. For everything outside of WWE, I'm going to get into WWE stuff in a minute, but first and foremost, I'm going to let you guys hear from Charlie G, and this is the Indie Cut.
Hey there, wrestling fans. I am Charlie G with your Indie Cut. Let's start off with January 18th at Black Label Pro. Nobody puts BLP in the corner. AJ Gray retained his BLP Midwest Championship against Hammerstone in a good hard match, won with a reverse suplex slam. Next was Warhorse in his 27th defense of his IWTV Independent Wrestling Championship. He retained that against Kylie Ray. These two had some great chemistry in the ring, and it was an awesome match. Eric Stevens retained his BLP heavyweight title against Tom Lawler. And Jake Something won the greatest BLP Rumble match against 33 other indie wrestlers. I missed that part, so I'm sure it was a good Rumble match. At Glory Pro David Lee Memorial Tournament, for the semifinal matches, it was Kevin Lee Davidson defeating Airwolf and Myron Reed defeating Paco Gonzalez. The winner of the David Lee tournament was Kevin Lee Davidson defeating Myron Reed. Congrats to him. At Evolve 144 from NXT, Rick Buggs defeated Anthony Green with help from Josh Briggs. Guess their problems went over from Beyond Wrestling to Evolve. So there is actually an indie storyline out there. In a non-title tag match, the Skulk defeated the champions besties in the world. So I'm sure that will create a championship match for them later on. Also from NXT, Mansoor defeated AR Fox, in which I would call a major upset, because Fox has been in the business for a long time, and he's an awesome wrestler. And in the main event for the Evolve title, Josh Briggs retained his against NXT's Dexter Lumis. So Evolve and NXT had a nice show in Florida. At GCW's Take a Picture, Blake Christian started off the show with another awesome match, defeating Gino Medina, hitting an Osprey cutter to his top rope Aliyah splash. It's just a nice high floating splash, and it's all Christian-like. These two put on what I thought was the best match of the night until I saw Alex Zane defeat Chris Bay, hitting his taco driver. These two could really go and put on a great match. Definitely one to look up if you can. There was a Ricky Shane Page match defeating Mance Warner in a grueling match, as you would think with these two. They're both hardcore, extreme wrestlers, and I wanted Mance to win, but gotta have the Ricky Shane Page one once in a while too. For the main event, it was Nick Gage defeating Alley Cat in a Texas death match. Yes, I said Texas death match. This was hard to watch at times, but that's death match for you. I'll add, I'm all for equality wrestling, but an intergender deathmatch is a bit much, in my opinion. Now on to some overseas news. I was able to watch the Progress Chapter 100 unboxing live for A New Hope from December 30th. This show is just what it says. The matches are unboxed live, and none of the matches are known to the public. So this had to be a fun way to find out who's wrestling who. The show started off with Jim Smallman asking everyone to stand up, asking how many shows they have been to, starting with 1 all the way to 95. As they all sat down, one guy stayed up way past 95 shows, saying he was probably at all 100. That's some true dedication. After that, he goes into his usual first show, whose first show it is, which is always hilarious. This lasted about 10 minutes, but it was still fun, and it was just fun to watch. I know most people don't like a lot of talk before a show, but this is fun, and if you don't like it, tough. The show started off with what was supposed to be a dark match between Jerry Bakewell and Mercedes Blaze versus Cassius and Nio. It was a fine match. Blakewell won with a fisherman suplex. These are new talent, and they usually do that for the dark match, but since some sicknesses came about, they were put on the main show. After that, after the match, Jim had a stall for some reason, which added to more hijinks. He introduced a special referee for the next match, William A. Homer, who was smoking and thought it was 1986. I'm guessing this was a gag early in some other shows. This was the first time I saw it. Then he went back to the crowd who he missed before, and he found one guy who lived in the same city, and just berated him and said, "You have to buy it around this time," for everyone there, which is kind of tradition. Roy Johnson then came out and called for a Wasteman challenge. It's like a slam talk challenge, and the winner gets to pick the match stipulation. So out came Ligero, Scotty Davis, Chris Ridgway, the Anti-Fun Police, and Chief Deputy Dunn, and Los Federos Santos Jr., Gene Money, and Kid Lycos, who came out with his doctor's note to be part of the fun since he is retired. After all the disses and slams, Lycos declared himself the winner and chose a reverse battle royal. If you've not seen a reverse battle royal, it's you start off outside the ring and you have to throw your opponents in the ring in order to win. Once that was said, out came Travis Banks. I mean, stupid, sexy Travis Banks. I've never seen like this, but the crowd went wild, and I'm sure this was from a previous episode. And this is I've never seen it like this, and it was quite hilarious. He hit the ring, and a small dance break broke out. Then the Congo line to start the match on stage. Little Jimmy Cornette would not have liked this and would have thrown a fit, which I would love to have seen. Eliminations went from Ligero, first Santos Jr., Gene Money, Roy Johnson, Chris Ridgway, Travis Banks, and Scotty Davis eliminated by the winner, Chief Deputy Don, in a crazy fun match. Check it out if you can. It was quite fun. Next was Eddie Dennis retaining his Progress Unified World title against the OJMO. He's new to me, and they put on a fine match. Ginny was supposed to defend her Progress Women's title against Toni Storm, but Toni was sick and couldn't make it, so Ginny said, any place, anytime, they will have their match. Probably when Toni's not working in NXT UK, same as Ginny. Next up was a non-title four-way match with Mark Haskins, with Vicky Haskins making a welcome return to Progress to a huge ovation, going against champion Paul Robinson, Cara Noir, and Connor Mills. This was actually a fun match with Cara Noir pinning Connor Mills, hitting a package pile driver, earning him a championship match against Eddie Dennis in what was a very cool match. Then Mustache Mountain made a nice surprise appearance, going against Dan Maloney and Rampage Brown. In a nice tag match, Seven hit and assisted Burning Hammer from the top rope on Maloney for the victory. All was fun, and all four men shook hands at the end of the match. For the main event, it was David Starr versus Jimmy Havoc in a death match. Now, usually I don't care for death matches, but this one was different. They both kept me wanting more. They just kept hit. It was just an amazing match. Hard hitting. Havoc finally won in a very good, brutal match, hitting an acid Rainmaker, landing Starr onto more barbed wire. They both shook hands and hugged at the end of the match. Havoc stayed in the ring, thanking Smallman for everything he has done for him, and then Starr gave Smallman also a hug as well. Since this was Jim Smallman's final episode, he said his thank yous to the crowd once again for being so awesome for the 100 chapters and all the performers who came through Progress. He sends goodbyes and love to all, and he'll be next to you as a fan from here on out. This was one of the better shows of 2019, I must say, and I know it's not for everyone, but it sure was for me. Next was the Progress Chapter 101 Dalmatians on January 19th, which started off with Eddie Dennis not being able to compete against Cara Noir after being injured at NXT Blackpool 2. So he relinquished his Progress title, and it will be determined in a 6-man tournament instead of Cara Noir in the main event. So Ilya Dragunov defeated Mark Andrews, Kyle Fletcher defeated LJ Cleary, and Paul Robinson defeated A-Kid, also retaining his Progress Pros title, all in qualifying matches. Next up was Ginny defeating Mercedes Blaze, retaining her Progress Women's Championship. And then the main event, as I said, it was Kyle Fletcher eliminated Paul Robinson, Cara Noir eliminated Kyle Fletcher, and Cara Noir eliminated Ilya Dragunov to become the new Progress Unified World Champion. Congrats to him. Now let's head over to Stardom, their 9th anniversary show from January 19th, also from January 19th, where Bea Priestley and Jamie Hayter of AEW fame became the new Goddesses of Stardom, defeating the Tokyo Cyber Squad, consisting of Jungle Kaino and Konami. And in the main event, Maya Iwatani defeated Momo Watanabe to retain her World of Stardom title. I'm sure all these were great matches. Now for matches I did see from the NJPW and CML Fantastica Mania Day 5 on the 20th. La Familia Diamini retained their Mexican National Six-Man Tag Championships over Angel de Oro, Nebula Roja, and Titan in a pinfall with Catapulta Dinamita on Aura. That was actually a fun match between all six. Fun to see CMLL matches in New Japan Wrestling. The crowd actually eats it up more than anything I've ever seen. And then in the main event, Caristico retained his NWA World Historic Middleweight Championship against Cavernario in a great match, winning with a head scissor armbar submission called La Mystica. CML and New Japan do some nice mixed shows, and they have a great working relationship. Now let's head back to the States for Friday on the 24th at AAW A New Dawn here in Chicago at the Logan Square Auditorium. Fred Yehi defeated ACH. Yes, he did show up. After face-planting ACH and forcing him to tap out in a hard match. After the match, Jimmy Jacobs came out wanting Yehi to join him to down Mance Warner, the AAW Heavyweight Champion. Yehi declined Jacobs' handshake, instead taking his scarf to seal a deal between the two. AR Fox defeated Willie Mack in what was a great match. OVE defeated Aramis and Juventud Guerrera. Yeah, he's still wrestling. With Sammy hitting a low blow kick to Aramis and hitting his power driver for the win in a wild, crazy match. Killer Kross defeated Ace Perry in a match under 2 minutes, hitting 2 awesome bombs in honor of the late Mike Awesome on his birthday. At the end, Jimmy Jacobs came out and asked Kross to join him also. Kross said no, as only he could, and then Freddie Yehi came out to defend Jimmy Jacobs' honor, which made Kross challenge both Yehi and Jacobs to a fight then and now. So we have a second match for both Yehi and Kross within an hour. It was a hard-fought match in and out of the ring, with help from Jacobs hitting Kross with a chair. Yehi rolled up Kross for the victory. Sorry, Kross, you can't win them all. Hakeem Zayn defeated Paco, retaining his AAW Heritage title, hitting a diving stomp on Paco while lying face down on a seated chair. That was just brutal. You don't hit a guy with a steel chair while he's just laying flat down, come on. Next up was the AAW Tag title match with the best seats in the world, defeating Kurt Stallion and Jake Something, with Matthew Fitchett hitting a spear on Jake Something to retain their titles. It was announced the next show at the Logan Square Auditorium will be Friday, February 21st, The Art of War. So get your tickets now. Also on the 24th, GCW Just Be Honest. We had Blake Christian defeat Aries, and it was an okay match. It was the first time I ever seen Aries, so maybe that's why it was just okay. Blake hit a cradle DDT in his top rope Aaliyah splash. After the victory, he yelled at GCW to make a match against him and Will Ospreay at Spring Break 2020. So we shall see what happens come April. Then there was Chris Dickinson defeating David Starr in a great wrestling match. These two can go hold for hold, move for move, and Dickinson outdid David Starr in this one. Then we had a 6-man scramble match featuring Starboy Charlie, Gringo Loco, Slice Boogie, Vandergriff, Adrian Quest, and Eli Everfly. This was a crazy fun match with Loco winning with a second rope suplex through a door on chairs on Slice Boogie. If you don't know, Gringo Locos from the Chicago area, so congrats to the Gringo. Then there was Tony Deppen defeating Mance Warner in a hard-hitting mini hardcore match, won with a low blow by Deppen, at which he called out Alex Shelley for Spring Break also. Spring Break is going to be one awesome show again. Finally, in the main event, it was Nick Gage defeating Matthew Justice in a hard-fought match, one with Justice being put through a table, not once but twice. After the match, Ricky Shane Page came out and smashed the rest of the table to the back of Gage as he was thanking the crowd for coming to the show. With the locker room behind him, Gage demanded a death match for the GCW title against Ricky Shane Page. Who knows when that will be. To close out the busy weekend at Beyond Wrestling, please come back. Actually, this afternoon on Saturday, the 25th, where what is considered to be a tryout show of Beyond Vets against First Timers. So Brian Pillman Jr. lost to Chuck O'Neal from an armbar submission after a Michinoku driver in a decent opening match. It looked like Pillman was just not used to the ring setup. I don't know. Pillman's way better than what he put on today. The Main State Posse took on Whatever It Takes. Since it was being held in Foxborough, next to Foxborough Stadium, Whatever It Takes came out in all New York gear and got some great boos for that. The Main State Posse won in an upset, but then was caught cheating with brass knucks found on them, which gave the win to Whatever It Takes. What a New York move. Dan Champion lost to Orange Cassidy after Champion took Cassidy's orange juice, drank it, spit it back in the bottle, which woke up Orange, hitting a stunner, an FU, and then an orange splash for the win. This is the most action I've seen out of Orange Cassidy in months. It was great. Then there was Chris Statlander defeating TJ Crawford, who was from Chicago, and what was an awesome match, and probably the match of the day, winning with her Big Bang Theory. And then Jake Something defeated Josh Briggs with a big side slam and an upset win over Briggs. This was a hard-hitting match between two very big men. So that's the end of wrestling news. And Retromania Independent Tournament, here are results. From the Dreamer division, Luke Hawks defeated the Man Scout. From the Retro division, Simon Miller defeated Joey Spector. And Warhorse defeated Caleb Conley. In the Power division, Jervis Cottonbelly defeated Eric Canyon. And Sugar Dunkerton defeated Dan Barry. So in the division finals, Chris Spade defeated Colby Carino from the Mini division. Matt Cross defeated Luke Hawks in the Dreamer division. And today's vote is Simon Miller versus Warhorse. And then tomorrow's vote is Jervis Cottonbelly versus Sugar Dunkerton. Whoever wins those will set the final four, which will start Monday and end on Wednesday. So remember, you can vote on Facebook, Twitter feed, Instagram post, and Instagram story. Next week, I will recap some AAW and SFW action, along with anything else that pops up. That's a wrap for me. Back to you, Tom.
All right, and that was Charlie G with your weekly indie cut. So, moving along into the next phase of the show here, I'm going to get into what is quickly becoming one of my favorite things to put together on this show. Gives a chance to just kind of daydream and, say what if, and this would be really cool if it happened. And of course, I think everybody knows by now I am talking about the Fantasy Booker. This week's Fantasy Booker is for all of you hardcore wrestling fans out there. I'm talking about the guys who guys and girls. I'm not discriminating here. For anybody that likes hardcore wrestling, who is a fan of the original ECW, or who loves the Japanese style death matches and all those kind of things. And for this week, my fantasy booking is Mance Warner versus Cactus Jack. I mean, Cactus Jack's reputation, Mick Foley, speaks for itself. You look back at his body of work, especially, with the death matches that he had with Terry Funk, and just some of the street fights that he had with Triple H, the street fight that the two of them had at the Royal Rumble, I believe it was in 2000. Well, I mean, probably one of the greatest street fights you ever want to see. I mean, it was a fantastic match. When it comes to hardcore wrestling, there are not too many that are even on the same level as Mick Foley, Cactus Jack, and Mance Warner is kind of the modern day version of that. I mean, you look at the matches he's had in MLW with people like Jimmy Havoc, and I mean, he's a fantastic hardcore wrestler. He doesn't, I personally, I don't think he overdoes it, doesn't do anything too stupid, too crazy. You don't see the, at least not in MLW, you don't see like the light tubes and things like that, that could be, that could be considered almost too dangerous, but, with, as far as like barbed wire and thumbtacks and tables and chairs and who knows what else. I mean, you just think about, put these two guys in a ring and let them do their thing, Mance Warner and Cactus Jack. That's, if you are a fan of the hardcore style of wrestling, that would be a main event pretty much anywhere. So, yeah, that is this week's fantasy booker, Mance Warner versus Cactus Jack. So, next up on the show, before we get into the WWE and my preview and predictions for the Royal Rumble, coming up right now is the another new segment on the show, and this is the Weekly Hot Take. So my hot take this week has to do with WrestleMania, biggest wrestling event in history. It's it seems to get bigger and bigger every year, and that includes time-wise. I mean, the last couple WrestleManias, you're talking 7+ hours. I mean, you're talking almost a full work day of sitting there watching a single wrestling event. And, it's not so bad if you're watching from home. You can get up, move around, get a snack, and, whatever. I feel for the people in the arenas having to sit there for 8+ hours, because, if the show is 7 hours long, you figure that they've gotten there an hour to 2 hours beforehand just to get in and find their seats, and then they're going to be there at least an hour or more trying to get out, get to their cars and get out of the parking lot and things like that. It gets to be too much, you know what I mean? So my thing is, and this is not an original, brand new idea. It's something that's been talked about quite a bit. But WrestleMania, WWE should take a cue from New Japan Pro Wrestling with what they did with Wrestle Kingdom this year. Make it a 2-day event. I mean, 2 days, no more than 4 hours each day. A 4-hour event with maybe an hour kickoff show or whatever. And I think it would give you, first of all, it would be a little more fan-friendly, I think, for the people that are actually there. And, it gives you a breather in between, and it gives you a chance to showcase more talent, I would think. And, because I think it's WrestleMania, it's WWE's biggest event of the year. It should incorporate all of their brands. And I'm talking Raw, SmackDown, NXT, NXT UK, 205 Live. And, biggest event of the year, all of the titles should be defended on the show. And now I know with WWE we're talking about 18 championships, but when you have the kickoff show to use, if you want to use that for a tag title match or the cruiserweight title or whatever it might be, the 24/7 title could be done literally any time across the 2 days, across both days, because it's always more often than not a backstage segment where you see the 24/7 title. And that should be where you see a lot of your gimmick matches, like Money in the Bank or TLC or Hell in a Cell or cage matches, Elimination Chamber, War Games even. I mean, I'm not saying you have to have all of these gimmick matches on every WrestleMania, but, I think having an entire pay-per-view dedicated to Money in the Bank or TLC or Hell in a Cell or Elimination Chamber, I think it's overkill. You know, like the TLC pay-per-view, I don't need to see a tables match and then a ladders match and then a chairs match and then a chain match or whatever and then a TLC match. You know, it gets to be, again, too much. So, and then, you know, also obviously include the men's and women's battle royals. Have the men's one night, the women's the other night. And it would truly give you a chance to get everyone, or as close to everyone as possible, on the card without having to rush through things or have an 8-hour or more pay-per-view. You know, so that's my take on it. It should be, WrestleMania needs to expand to 2 days, you know, do Saturday and Sunday. And I mean, if they wanted to get really ambitious, they could do it from 2 different venues. But I mean, to start off with, you know, say, let's just say I'm from Chicago, so let's say if they do it in Chicago, you know, it could be done at Soldier Field both days. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't have to be 2 venues. You know, try it out. You know, 1 year. If it gets a good response, then, you know, maybe the next year or a couple years later, try it from 2 different venues. I mean, they've done 3 different venues before with WrestleMania 2, and the technology today is a hell of a lot better than it was back then. So I think pulling off 2 venues would be relatively easy, especially if they're on 2 separate days. So, like, you know, let's say if they're doing it in Florida this year, you know, they're doing it in Tampa. Well, maybe do, you know, the first night in Tampa, the second night in Miami or Orlando or something. I don't know. But, you know, there's just a lot of possibilities, a lot of directions they could go with it. I think it'd be more fan-friendly. I think they would get, you know, obviously they'd get increased attendance, which just means more money in their pocket. So that's, you know, obviously the bottom line is always the bottom line. So that is this week's hot take, is WrestleMania should be a 2-day event. I mean, it's already, you know, almost a full week with all the events surrounding it with the Hall of Fame and, you know, NXT TakeOver and stuff like that. So, you know, just make WrestleMania itself a 2-day event, incorporate the NXT TakeOver into it. And, you know, I think the response would be tremendous. So, yeah, that's it for the weekly hot take for this week. So let's get into WWE news and my preview and predictions for the Royal Rumble. First of all, just a couple of quick notes from during the week. The Viking Raiders joined up with Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens in their battle against Seth Rollins, AOP, and Buddy Murphy, and somehow it ended up with a tag team title match, the Viking Raiders defending against Seth and Buddy Murphy. Didn't make a whole lot of sense. I think a lot of people would have really loved to have seen the Viking Raiders versus the AOP. I know that's what I was hoping for, but then, you know, Seth said, nope, it's going to be me and Buddy Murphy. And Seth and Buddy Murphy are your new Raw Tag Team Champions. I don't understand it. You know, I'm willing to wait and see where this is going to go. But, yeah, I think WWE kind of misfired a little bit there, because I personally would have loved to have seen the AOP taking on the Viking Raiders. I think that would have been a great match. Also on Raw, we saw the return of Humberto Carrillo. He came back and attacked Andrade after his successful title defense in a ladder match against Rey Mysterio. Andrade was about to, again, you know, DDT Mysterio outside on the concrete. Had pulled the mats back, and, you know, Carrillo jumped out of the crowd, had a Rey Mysterio mask on, and Andrade just looked kind of confused for a minute, and, you know, he pulled off the mask, and it was Carrillo, and jumped all over him, and so, yeah, that was Humberto Carrillo's comeback. So it looks like the rivalry going forward is going to be Carrillo versus Andrade. I don't know how Rey is going to fit into the mix, or even if he is, so we'll have to see where that goes. But yeah, there will be a U.S. title match tonight on the Royal Rumble with Carrillo taking on Andrade, so I'll get into that in a minute. On NXT, we've got a new North American champion in Keith Lee, defeated Roderick Strong, and this was a strong contender for Match of the Week. Up until last night, this was the Match of the Week, so, you know, if you want to watch 2 wrestling matches this week and nothing else, then make the second match Keith Lee versus Roderick Strong from NXT. The finals for the Dusty Cup are set. It's going to be Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne taking on the Grizzled Young Veterans. Should be a great match with these guys, and the winner of that match gets an NXT Tag Team title match at the next NXT TakeOver in Portland. We've also got a new Cruiserweight champion from Worlds Collide last night, and that is Jordan Devlin from NXT UK. So I would assume he'll be making more appearances on the NXT US brand, but a little bit of a surprise. I mean, Jordan Devlin is phenomenal. but like I said, little bit of a surprise. He is the new cruiserweight champion, so I'm looking forward to seeing more of him on NXT. On SmackDown, really the biggest thing we saw was the contract signing between The Fiend and Daniel Bryan, but it was pretty much your typical contract signing. Bryan came out, signed his part. Then Bray Wyatt showed up on the big screen from the Firefly Funhouse, trying to fax the contract to Bryan. And, Bryan, of course, wasn't having it, told him, get out to the ring. Lights went down, came back up, The Fiend was there, got Bryan in the mandible claw, and, like I said, pretty much your typical contract signing for WWE. The Fiend then, took the pen, stabbed himself in the hand, and signed the contract in his own blood. So, interesting little twist there. But, that's pretty much it for WWE TV this week. I mean, everything was building towards the Royal Rumble, which I'm going to get into a preview here in a minute. But one interesting rumor that's floating around out there is, that I think everybody knows by now, WWE's got another Saudi Arabia show coming up in February. And there's a rumor that Sting is going to be a big part of this show in some form or another. Now, I don't know if that means he's going to have a match. I'm not thinking he's been cleared to return to the ring, but I could be wrong. I mean, he said, he feels like he can still go, at least one more match. So, I'm here for it. I think everybody knows I'm almost as big of a Sting mark as I am an Undertaker mark. So, I'd be thrilled to see Sting come back even for a one-off appearance. And there was even talk that he could appear in some form or fashion at the Royal Rumble event tonight. Not necessarily in the Royal Rumble match, I don't think. But, who knows? But, Sting does, I believe he lives in Texas, so, the Rumble's in Houston, so it's not outside the realm of possibility. So, let's get into the big news this week. The Royal Rumble is tonight. There's 8 matches on the card, which seems like quite a bit when 2 of those matches are Royal Rumbles. But I'm sure it's going to be a typical 4-hour WWE pay-per-view, 4-hour plus. But before we get to the Rumble matches, let's go through the undercard here. We've got, as I talked about, Andrade defending the U.S. Championship against Humberto Carrillo. I think WWE's done a pretty good job of building this rivalry. I am interested in it. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a great match between these two. My pick for this one is Andrade to retain. Then we got the SmackDown Women's Championship, Bayley defending against Lacey Evans. This one, I'm on board for this rivalry. I think it's, I'm not going to say it's the greatest thing I've ever seen, but I think the way that WWE is doing this one is good. With Bayley kind of not going after Lacey's daughter, because it's an 8-year-old kid, but just kind of talking trash and beating up Lacey Evans in front of her kid and stuff like that. I like the way that they're building this one, and it's it's doing a very good job of making Lacey Evans that that sympathetic baby face, and I think honestly I think she plays that role much better. Not that she was a bad heel. I actually thought she was a pretty good heel, but I think after seeing this, I like her better as a babyface, and I am picking Lacey Evans to win this one to get her first title in WWE, the SmackDown Women's Championship. Then we've got a singles match, which is kind of just random, I guess. It's Shorty G taking on Sheamus. This will be Sheamus's his first match back since he's returned to SmackDown, and I'm picking Sheamus in this one. There's not too much story behind it, so there's not a lot of emotional investment or anything in this one, but I think this is more or less just to showcase how dominant Sheamus is going to be after his return. So I'm picking Sheamus in this one. Then we've got a Falls Count Anywhere match, Roman Reigns taking on Baron Corbin. I'm picking Roman in this one. This rivalry has been going on for a while. Corbin, of course, has his backup with Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler, and so I'm sure we'll see other people getting involved. And of course, on Roman's side, we've got the Usos. But I am picking Roman Reigns in this one, and I'm hoping this is kind of the blow off to this rivalry. And we'll see, both of these guys move on to something else, because this rivalry has been okay for me. I'm not going to say it's bad, or that I think it's bad, or that I hate it, or anything like that. But it's not, I don't know, it just doesn't do it for me, I guess is the best way I can put it. Then we've got the Raw Women's Championship, Becky Lynch defending against Asuka. And this is, kind of, the the way Becky put it was, she had one debt left to collect, and that was the loss to Asuka at last year's Royal Rumble. And I'm picking Becky in this one. I think it's going to be an amazing match. I mean, Becky and Asuka, the two of them, I mean, I don't see them putting on a bad match. I think this is going to be a really good one to watch, and I am picking Becky Lynch to retain in this one. Then we've got, for the Universal Championship, a strap match with The Fiend defending against Daniel Bryan. Now, it's been a little while since we saw a strap match. I'm wondering if they're going to go by typical strap match rules where you have to drag your opponent around and touch each corner to win, or if it's just going to be straight pinfall and submission, just with the guys, tied together at the wrist with the leather strap. I'm curious to see this one, but, Bryan and Bray Wyatt, two of the top guys in WWE. I'm really, really liking this rivalry between them. That this is probably the best rivalry that WWE has going right now. So I am very, very excited to see this one. So from there, moving into the actual Royal Rumble matches, starting off with the Women's Royal Rumble. Now, so far they have only announced 7 women officially in this match, and that's Charlotte, Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross, Sarah Logan, Natalya, Carmella, and Dana Brooke. So there are 23 spots open. So there's a lot of possibilities here. Now, one of the rumors floating around is that Molly Holly will be making an appearance. Now, obviously, WWE has not confirmed that, but apparently she was spotted in Houston, and she is going to be one of the entrants in the Royal Rumble, which I'm a huge Molly Holly fan. She's been on the show before. Did me the honor of granting me an interview, as she was the first wrestler I ever interviewed on the show, and she could not have been a greater person. So it'll be cool to see Molly Holly if she actually is part of the Royal Rumble. Another one that has supposedly been spotted in Houston is Victoria. Again, one of my absolute favorite wrestlers that I have ever met. Just an amazing person, an amazing in-ring performer on top of that. So I'd love to see Victoria make an appearance. I mean, she's one that I think has been overlooked by WWE for way too long for going into the Hall of Fame. And hopefully, if she is part of this, hopefully that's that's something that's about to change. Because normally that's kind of WWE's MO. If they plan to put somebody in the Hall of Fame, they'll have them start making appearances and stuff like that. So, if Victoria does make an appearance tonight, hopefully that means we'll be getting an announcement sometime soon of her going into the Hall of Fame, because it is long overdue. Some other possibilities, of course, Ronda Rousey's name has been thrown around out there. Paige's name has been thrown around out there. Naomi has yet to make her return. Now the Usos have come back already, and they kind of are joined at the hip because she's married to Jimmy Uso. So, it'd be good to see Naomi come back. Of course, you've got all the NXT and NXT UK women that could possibly be part of it. I would definitely expect to see the losers of the Asuka versus Becky and Bayley versus Lacey Evans match make appearances. But my pick for the winner of the Women's Royal Rumble, I have to go with Charlotte. She hasn't had really a strong storyline in a while. And last year she was kind of not cheated out of the victory at the Rumble, but Becky was really not supposed to be an entrant in the Rumble last year. She kind of took the spot of somebody who got hurt. So my pick for the Women's Royal Rumble this year is Charlotte. Moving on to the Men's Royal Rumble. Now, so far there have been 27 names announced, so there's only 3 spots left open. I'm going to run through the names that have been announced so far. You've got Brock Lesnar entering at number 1. Then you've got Roman Reigns, AJ Styles, Rowan, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio, Ricochet, Drew McIntyre, Elias, Baron Corbin, Dolph Ziggler, Otis and Tucker, Rusev, Bobby Lashley, Aleister Black, Buddy Murphy, Braun Strowman, Nakamura, Rollins, Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe, Kofi and Big E, R-Truth, John Morrison, and The Miz. So that only leaves 3 spots open, and Cain Velasquez has already come out and said that he is going to be part of it. So if that is the case, because WWE has not confirmed it, but if that is the case, you've only got 2 spots open. And there's now there could obviously be some surprises. 2 surprises at the most. But there's still a lot of WWE guys that are unaccounted for here. All right, somebody driving past my house, apparently, they found their horn. Hopefully their brakes work too. But anyway, there's a lot of some tag teams that are not accounted for in the Royal Rumble, like the Usos, the Viking Raiders, the AOP, Bobby Roode, Mojo Rawley, No Way Jose. Another one that could, potentially be a part of it is Dio Madden. Of course, last time we saw him, he took an F5 from Brock Lesnar through the announce table. You've got all the NXT and NXT UK guys that, one or two could potentially show up. Then you've got all the rumors going around about CM Punk and Edge, which seems to be the biggest one this year. MVP has supposedly been spotted in Houston. So has Mark Henry, as well as Christian, Shane McMahon. Now, that doesn't mean that they're there to make an appearance at the event. I mean, Christian is part of WWE Backstage. He could be there recording content for that. Mark Henry, he does hold a backstage position with WWE, so it's not really a surprise that he would be there. Another name potentially that has been thrown around is Dominic Mysterio, potentially making an appearance. I think that could be kind of interesting. And then you've got, of course, Andrade and Humberto Carrillo could both make appearances. Sheamus could make an appearance. Shorty G, Shelton Benjamin. There's literally dozens of people who could potentially fill those last 2 or 3 spots in the Royal Rumble. But my pick for this year's Men's Royal Rumble is Drew McIntyre. I think it is his time. I think he's earned the opportunity to main event WrestleMania. Now, whether that'll be against Brock or against The Fiend, I would assume it would be against The Fiend, but I think I would love to see McIntyre versus Brock. I really would. A lot of people are saying, Cain Velasquez is going to be the one to eliminate Brock from the Rumble, and that's going to set up a match for them. But now I don't know if that match would be at the Saudi Arabia show next month or if that would be pushed out to WrestleMania. I would personally do it at the Saudi Arabia show, and I would put Brock versus McIntyre at WrestleMania. I think that's a match that the fans would really get behind. I mean, Drew McIntyre is definitely over with the crowd. Brock Lesnar, I think, probably one of the most hated guys in WWE right now. So I think it would be a phenomenal match between McIntyre and Brock Lesnar, and that's what I would love to see at WrestleMania. So that is my preview and predictions for tonight's Royal Rumble. I'm sure some of you guys noticed I did not do a Troll of the Week this week. I've honestly not been spending too much time on social media other than just looking up results and things like that. I've mentioned the last couple weeks I've had some family stuff going on, so just really haven't had too much time to spend on that kind of thing. So there is no Troll of the Week this week. I'll do my best to bring it back next week because that is one of the more fun parts of the show, because it's just, don't take it too seriously. It's just me kind of busting chops and calling out people who are just dumb, honestly. But so that is Catch, Hook, and Shoot for this week. I hope everybody enjoys the Royal Rumble tonight. Thank you again to everyone for listening, watching, and subscribing wherever you find your podcasts, on YouTube and anywhere else that CHS might pop up. Make sure you're following on all social media platforms at Catch Hook Shoot. It's patreon.com/Catch Hook Shoot for your bonus content, prowrestlingtees.com/Catch Hook Shoot for all your t-shirt needs, and if you ever want to drop me an email, it's catchhookshoot@gmail.com. So with that, I am going to sign off for today. Again, I hope everybody enjoys the Royal Rumble tonight. Hope everybody has an amazing week coming up, and I will talk to you guys soon.